Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026. I am Annika Spalding, the Director of Development here at the Amarillo Little Theater, and this is Thursdays at 3, where I go live every Thursday to get you caught up on what's happening this week at ALT. This season, Thursdays at 3 is very generously sponsored by our good friends at Realty Central Services. Cindy Bulla is the owner and broker of Realty Central and is a longtime supporter and champion of ALT. Realty Central is a women-owned full-service real estate brokerage providing unparalleled customer service backed by decades of experience, industry service, and property rights advocacy. So if you're in need of real estate service and you love ALT, consider heading over to amarillo.real estate. You see that email address or that web address on your screen, and use Realty Central Services. Okay, you guys, we're very excited about this. Tonight is the night. It is preview night for Jersey Boys here at the Alan Schenkel's main stage. Tickets to tonight's show are buy one, get one free. And as many of you know, students are always buy one, get one free. So what are you waiting for? If you can't make it tonight, the show will run through March 1st. So make sure to get your tickets. If you want to purchase your tickets, you can do so by heading over to our website at AmarilloLittleTheater.org and purchase them there, or you can call our box office Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 at 806-355-9991. I also want to make sure that everybody knows that our production of Jersey Boys will have an ASL interpreted show on Sunday, February 22nd at 2:30 p.m. Interpreters will be located on the left side of the theater when you're facing the stage. If you have already purchased your tickets for another date and would like to move them to this performance to sit in the deaf and hard of hearing section, please email our volunteer coordinator and box office manager, Lissa Guerin. Let me put her information up here, and she can get you set up with anything that you need. Let me do this one instead. You can call her at the box office or email her, and she can move your tickets over if you've already purchased those and want to move them to the ASL interpreted performance on Sunday, February 22nd at 2:30. Okay, let's check out our volunteer opportunities for the week. Jersey Boys begins this email was sent a little while ago, but Jersey Boys begins tonight, you guys, and we have very few signups for this weekend for ushering and concessions. If you are interested in helping us out with ushering and concessions for any of our performances for Jersey Boys, you can contact our volunteer coordinator, Lissa Guerin, and she will get you set up with a slot that works for you, whichever date is best for you. A quick reminder, if you do help us out with ushering and concessions and we have tickets to that night's performance, you can see the show totally for free. And volunteering with ushering and concessions is really, really easy. And it really helps us out. So if you need volunteer hours or if you want to see the show for free, that is a great way to do that. It's also really great people and a lot of fun. So consider that and getting in touch with Lissa if you want to help us out with that. I want to keep things moving today because I have a lot to get to, but let's do our volunteer of the week. Okay, I have to say I'm kind of obsessed with this volunteer of the week. Big congratulations to our Jersey Boys. Lissa Guerin and Jen Akins nominated the Four Seasons to be our volunteers of the week this week because, and I can attest to this, they have been putting in so much work after hours and during the day to give you all the best performance they possibly can. Volunteering to do a show at ALT, especially a musical with tons and tons of choreography, is such a big commitment. And I am personally so inspired when volunteers go above and beyond what is asked of them to deliver for our audiences. So huge congrats to our Jersey Boys. That is such a big deal. And to have two separate people independent of each other nominate a volunteer of the week is really, really cool. So congrats to our Jersey Boys. I cannot wait to see this show. I'm so excited. And let's keep things going with some breaking Broadway news. All right, this spring, great performances on PBS will air the filmed recording of Suffs, the Broadway musical from Tony Award winner Shayna Taub, which is really exciting. And from 6 to Satine, Kelsey Watts, who I believe is the sister of Macy Watts, who graduated from WT, the theater program over there, will be the new Satine in Moulin Rouge the musical. So very exciting, going from 6 to Satine. I just think that's so cool, and kind of a neat little West Texas connection there. It's a small little place, so we spread ourselves out. Okay, let's get to the really good stuff. I'm really excited about this. Jersey Boys begins preview night tonight here at the main stage, and I am so excited to chat with two of the cast members today. A big warm welcome to Zeth Collom and Preston Moore. Hi, my friends.
What's up?
Nels was supposed to join us today, but he emailed me right before and got no sleep last night. So I fully support him getting as much rest as possible. So I'm proud of him for setting a boundary and, and making sure to take care of himself, because I know this week is really intense. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. I think we're doing well. We're just excited for tonight. I mean, it's been going on since before Christmas, and I'm doing extra well now that I'm surprised by sharing volunteer of the week with three co-stars. That was a surprise to me. I didn't know that. That was awesome.
I mean, I just have to say, like, it has been so cool for me because, you know, we do a ton of shows here at ALT, and it is really rare to see the leads in shows up here during the day. And you guys have been up here multiple times. I know you've been staying after rehearsals. I know you've been showing up before rehearsal starts. And it's just such a big commitment outside of that extra that you guys are giving to it. So to see you guys up here rehearsing choreography, going over music and all of that, I just want everyone out there to know, because they wouldn't know unless we told them. I know you guys aren't going to brag on yourselves, so they would have no idea when they come and see the show how much extra work you guys have put in. And we know you have lives outside of this and families and things going on. And so extra congratulations from me on that. That's a really big deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I personally am so excited to see this show. Zeth, I want to start with you. Will you tell us who you play in the show and a little bit about who he is?
Sure. I have the honor, the privilege, the intimidation of playing the legendary Frankie Valli. And so Frankie Valli is basically probably the most memorable, at least frontman of the Four Seasons. A little bit about how the story is portrayed is Frankie is a high school dropout that originally studied to be a barber and had no training, no musical training whatsoever. At least that's kind of the narrative that's shared for history, and becomes kind of synonymous with that 50s and 60s signature of these male pop singer styles that use their falsetto to kind of become signature sound of that era. And so who Frankie is I kind of see him as, believe it or not, although he is the front man, he never probably would have got into performing if at the end of the day, Tommy DeVito did not pull him up on stage and make him do it. I think there's a part of him that enjoys the spotlight, but he's not going to necessarily seek it. And then before it's all said and done, he never wanted to be a solo artist. And eventually he was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, especially as Bobby Gardio wanted to focus on his passion, which was songwriting and producing. And so it's really interesting. And Jason's done very well, I think, in helping me kind of tell this story of a kid with talent. He starts at 16 years old, and then we end in I think it's the mid to late 90s, being inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of this person who had no intention of wanting to be a superstar, and is actually quite, in my opinion, at least how it's portrayed as a character, quite humble in his talents. And there's a line that he even says of, at the end of the day, he never wanted the group to break up, and everybody does in some way, form, or fashion. The original four do kind of break up in a way for various reasons, and it was never his intention to be Frankie Valli. And so it's a really interesting, at least portraying a character who is a real person and still alive. And it's my first to ever play someone who actually existed. To see this kind of pop icon who really had no intention of becoming that. And so who Frankie is he does have a little bit of a temper, but he's also, in my opinion, shy. He relies on other people. And so, but eventually he does have to do what is required to do what is best for the group and for the business and for his friend. Because as you see in the show, we end up being lucky that like half of us are alive because of money troubles. And I won't give much more away than that.
Okay. And Preston, what about you? Who do you play?
I play Bob Gaudio. Zeth sort of mentioned him. His passion was songwriting and producing. I'm the other member of the Four Seasons who actually is still alive in real life, alongside Frankie Valli and Bob Gaudio. We were actually going to invite them out. We were going to like send them something. Zeth and I thought about it. We were like, should we just like, why not? They're still like, they're alive.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do it and see? But shocker, Frankie's on tour. And so he's still touring in his 90s. So we passed on that. But Bob was the self-described last piece of the puzzle for the Four Seasons. He was the last one to join. He was a kid when he joined, and he kind of stuck it out. He was also the last one to leave, and him and Frankie remained partners kind of throughout the rest of their lives. As far as I know, they're still partners, doing separate things, but they have a iconic partnership, iconic handshake scene that we have in the show that's really, really touching and endearing, and they kind of have a great friendship. And we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, in a little bit. But Bob is he's kind of the calm, cool, collected genius of the group in a lot of ways. And he kind of joins, and he's like I said, he describes himself as the last piece of the puzzle. And so whenever he does join, we get to have this number, Cry for Me, when we all kind of sing together. And it's the first time that we all sing together. And I think that's my favorite scene in the whole show, is because it's like, this is the Four Seasons. It's like, this is it kind of, it just shows that phrase, last piece of the puzzle, really, really well, in terms of like, they slide Bob in and it's like, bam, dynamite, it's there. And you hear the sound and you hear why they were so popular, and it all comes together. And that's been done really well. And huge thanks to our production team, who has helped make that scene and the whole show, but that scene also really pop in the way that it does. And that's kind of Bob's MO throughout the rest of the show. I mean, he's not into the drama. There's a lot of drama that happens. And I think, there's a long scene that we have. The most dramatic scene that we have is about 11 pages long in the script. It all happens in one room. And it's like, there's probably 7 or 8 guys in there during that scene. And we talked about money troubles. It's, like I said, very dramatic. Bob doesn't speak through like that whole scene. So like through the early rehearsals, all the other guys were worried about their lines and trying to get all this blocking down. And I was like, I'm just going to sit here. Like, I just get to do nothing. And I sit here for the first like 9 pages of that 11-page scene. Gosh. I have a couple lines at the end, but that's about it. And so it's like, that's Bob though. I mean, he's calm. He doesn't really get hot-headed easily at all.
Preston, isn't your line something of like, you're the one Italian that isn't into drama or something like that?
Yeah, he literally says that. So like, just getting to be kind of chill in that regard, and just be the steadying pace of the group. I think when the 3 others have a lot of interpersonal drama, and I did do great with that blocking. Jesse Neal, that's our assistant director. My blocking of sit in the chair and do nothing while they all walk around me and argue.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, one of my favorite things when I interview people, I pay attention to how they're communicating, what's behind the words. And you are 2 of my very favorite people, both Preston, you and Zeth, to interview, because I've asked 2 questions, really just one question. And both of you, the passion that you have for what you're doing, the research that you've done, your presence in the scene, I can see all of it just hearing you talk about the show and your characters. And it's one of my very favorite things. And just as a staff member at ALT, it makes me really proud that we have a community of volunteers. Everyone is capable of giving, what they can give, and we appreciate anything they can give. But the 2 of you in particular, in my opinion, really go above and beyond. We saw that with the Volunteer of the Week, with the 4 seasons and all the time you guys have given to the process. But just hearing you talk about your characters and the scenes that you're in, as an actor, as a staff member at ALT, it just makes me really, really proud. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of the interview, because I don't feel like I have to carry the whole thing. Which I love.
We can talk.
We can talk.
I love that. I love that. Alex Barrera says, hey, break a leg this weekend.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about the show. Preston, our audiences most recently saw you on stage playing younger brother in Ragtime. What can they expect to see when they get tickets for Jersey Boys?
Jersey Boys is, and you mentioned Ragtime, which I had the honor to share the stage with you in that show, and you were phenomenal in that show. And I just had such a great time in that show. When I have described Jersey Boys to some of my friends, because Ragtime, as you know, and as I've spoken about, that was my first show in 8 years. And so it was a big thing to just, telling my friends, I'm doing theater again. You should come out and see it. This show is really cool. I mean, we've got a lot of great vocalists. It's going to be a great show. And so now that I'm doing another show, when describing it to some of my friends who maybe aren't theater people or who came to see Ragtime, and that was kind of their, not introduction, but kind of their I don't know, entryway into theater almost a little bit, or, they saw that and that was one of their only theater experiences in the last couple of years, perhaps. When I'm telling them about Jersey Boys, I'm like, this is very different. This is not the same as what you saw in Ragtime. Ragtime was obviously, set in the early 1900s and very political, and Jersey Boys is, and the music in Ragtime was beautiful, and it was just very, like, I don't know, I'm not a music person. You could describe this a lot better than I could, Annika, or you, Zeth, but Ragtime is very, like classical, like, musical style. It's kind of what you expect when you go to a musical. And if you don't know what a jukebox musical is, Jersey Boys is not that, specifically Jersey Boys. Like, we are doo-wopping and having fun with songs that you've probably heard before, many of which I had heard before that I didn't realize were in Jersey Boys. Yeah, there's Michelle. We love having Michelle backstage. He's the best. But yeah, Jersey Boys, what can they expect when they see Jersey Boys? A lot of fun songs, some really cool light. I love what they've done with the lighting in this show, what our technical director, Noah Lang, and Jason, and what they have kind of partnered to create lighting wise in this show. It's going to be a beautiful show, just visually speaking, and musically a lot of fun, a lot of singing and dancing. I mean, it is like I said, just real songs that you've probably heard before, some of which you may not realize that you've heard before. And I think, Zeth, you can speak more to this, but you've mentioned a couple times that this show is emblematic of male friendships in a lot of ways, and it's a really great display of male friendships in a lot of ways, that you don't necessarily see a whole lot of the time, I think. And I think it is I think it's really good for that, because you've got these 4 guys, right? They were friends throughout their lives, and they go through ups and downs, and they've got each have their own kind of interpersonal relationships with each other, and because it's solely about them, they're kind of on stage the whole time, and it's following these 4 guys throughout the trajectory of their careers. And it's very interesting. There's a lot of fun, a lot of funny lines. I'm excited to have an audience tonight, because there's so many times when you're in rehearsal and you're like, this is going to get a laugh, and I know it's going to get a laugh, but I need to wait to see if it's going to get a laugh. It's going to add so much, because there is a lot of humor in this show. So I think people are just going to have a lot of fun with this show.
I'm so excited to see it. And I want you guys to talk a little bit more about the theme of male friendship, because, when I think about a singing group, I think more often than not, and I think we've seen in real life, it can break friendships apart. I feel like that's more the norm of what you see. And what you guys are telling me is Bob and Frankie are still friends to this day. Not only are they alive, but they're still friends. I want to hear you guys talk about that relationship and sort of how you found it in your own way on stage here at ALT between the two of you.
Well, yeah, like Preston said, I also want to kind of tell anybody who's watching, I mean, not that we don't enjoy theater as men, because, you know, we do, but I mean, this is really like a dude's musical. It really is. There is language in it. There is innuendo in it. There is drinking in it. There is one of my favorite lines, and I hope my wife doesn't get mad at me for saying it's one of my favorite lines. Nels' character, Nick Massey, has this line that is, you know, I would, and I'm paraphrasing because it's not my line, but my favorite thing is he's like, there were 3 things I was taught. You don't lie to your mother, you don't tell your wife the whole truth, and the third thing, every boy from Jersey knows that. It's got that type of humor, and I've told Preston, you know, we have a lot of plays and musicals and entertainment that explore female relationships. Like you have Steel Magnolias, you know, as I mean, I have 3 sisters, and I always affectionately say, you know, I was brought up as one of the girls because I was the eldest and I was the only boy and I had 3 sisters. But you have like Steel Magnolias, you have Little Women, and you have all these other things, and then it's kind of like, well, you know, there's like Brian's Song. You know, there's not a lot of things that really explore male friendships in like a very male, you know, this is how it is. And so to your point of, you know, a lot of times they say don't mix pleasure and business and don't mix family with whatever. And at least how I've approached it, and Preston and I we were doing a little bit of character work outside, is the show is divided in your traditional 2 acts, right? But it's almost, I have a degree in English, so I love when these things are in the text, but it's also broken up into 4 seasons: summer, or spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Tommy, because he's the one who started it all, is spring. Bob Gardio is our summer at our peak. Nick is autumn, and I am winter because I'm still the one that's out there entertaining, or Frankie is. And I think you can also apply the old adage of friends for a reason, friends for a season, friends for life. And at least for me, in terms of character development, Tommy and Frankie, as you'll see, are friends for a season. They will always care for one another and they will always be with one another, but they're meant to not stay together for various reasons. And then Nick Massey is friends with Frankie because they're entertainers and they're musicians. But other than that, there's even a little subtle part that is staged that, I mean, Nikki likes the ladies and Nikki's not afraid to take away other ladies at times. And so I don't know that Frankie and Nick would really be friends outside of the group. But in some ways, I think it hurts when Frankie realizes they're not going to be friends for forever. But Bob Gardio and Frankie Valli are meant to be friends for life. And I think all 4 of us have really, as volunteer actors, really have bonded in as a group as well as individually to bring these characters to life. I think one thing I've overheard, and it's from Jen and our assistant director, of I think that in some ways we were cast very much more sometimes on, in addition to our talent. And I must say, Nels, Preston, and Diego are so exceptionally talented that it's a privilege to be on stage with them. But I do feel there's enough of, I don't necessarily believe in becoming your character, but I do think you have to have some attributes that are connections to your character. And I do think that I definitely can see Bob Gardio's calmness, coolness, it is what it is, pragmatism in Preston, for example. And that's one of the things I've actually learned from Preston, is he is cool as a cucumber about everything. And I just wish I was more like that. And I'm not. So, but I don't know if that answers the question, but there's a little bit of like character analysis. I don't know if Preston has much more to say on it.
Yeah, just to echo all of that, I think you hit it on the nose. And I loved seeing some of the Facebook comments pop up. Carla Fristo has been amazing backstage. She jumped in and has been our stage manager, and she's been so awesome helping out. There she is. Yeah. She's been incredible. We like, there is so many, there's 51 scenes in this show. There's 31 or 33 or something like that in Act 1 alone. And it is unbelievable how many transitions we are working with and how many costume changes are happening oftentimes on stage. While I'm in the middle of a monologue, somebody's setting my mic and then bringing my jacket on for me to put on while I'm delivering a monologue to the audience. There's so many things that Carla has managed really, really well backstage to jump in the last couple of weeks. Zachary's in our cast. He commented as well. Andrew, running our mics. He's phenomenal. He gave me a little mini tour of the mic booth.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, this is so cool. I worked in television for years, and so I was like, I'm nerding out right now. I thought it was so cool.
Oh my gosh, Andrew's the best. Andrew, we love you. So grateful for you, Andrew, and all that you do for ALT. Okay, Preston, you mentioned, and I chatted a little bit about this with Mo and Kaylee last week. The show has 51 scenes. For anyone who doesn't fully understand, like every show is a little bit different, but that's about double the amount of scenes that a show typically has. It's absolutely huge. 32 songs plus choreography. As I mentioned before, doing any ALT show requires a time commitment from our volunteers, really hundreds of hours when you add it all up together, start to finish. But I'm curious how this process has been for both of you. Preston, you've done several shows at ALT, as we mentioned. Zeth, you were with us for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. How is Jersey Boys different?
The 51 scenes. I mean, you hit it on the head. That is different. That is so many moving pieces. I was talking with our Academy director, Harrison Stringer, yesterday. Him and I were catching up, and I was telling him a little bit about the show. And, one of the differences, for instance, in Ragtime, we had some spoken narration to the audience. There are a lot of moments in Ragtime where a character will, turn toward the audience and set up the next scene. For instance, I would go on as younger brother and I would say, the president is coming to do a rally in New York at this point. And then, that would be a couple sentences, and then I'd go off stage, and then they would do the president scene that I was not in. Importantly speaking, that's just an example, as opposed to this show, whereas it's split up into 4 seasons, right? Each of our 4 seasons, we're narrating as well, and we're in these scenes as well. And so while they're doing these scene transitions, all 51 of them, most of the time, if not all of the time, frankly, one of us 4 is delivering a monologue to the audience and then turning around to go be in that scene immediately afterward. I mean, we're going up, we're doing a monologue right there, and then I'm going to turn around and immediately go into the scene. And oftentimes the scene is like this incredibly challenging 4-part harmony that we want to get the iconic sound of the 4 seasons correctly, and we want to make it look good and has choreography. And so it's fast paced, it's moving all of the time, and that's what's been different in my experience from any show that I've done, whether it was when I was in the academy or now as an adult compared to Ragtime. The show bleeds into itself in so many different ways, and it is all of those little scene transitions, because again, our show takes place over 40 years, to the point where a lot of it, and we're wanting, when they wrote the show, they want to fit as much of the 4 seasons real life discography into, I agree with Zachary there. They want to fit as much of the 4 seasons discography into the show as well. And so maybe we're doing medleys, or maybe we're doing one verse of a song, or maybe we're doing, a scene that's later on. There's my dad. I can hardly wait as well. But it's so much movement throughout the show, really, just pacing wise, structurally, as a narrative. And that really is different, because it takes place over the course of decades, because there are so many songs from their discography that we're performing, and because in the middle of all of it, one of the 4 of us is delivering a monologue to set the scene to the audience, because maybe it's been 10 years since the scene you just watched, and so things like that have to be conveyed as well. And so it's a lot, and that is a challenge, but it's an exciting one.
Well, let me ask you guys this. If that's the structure of the show, where you're narrating kind of what's going on and you turn right around and walk right into the scene, have you guys had any trouble with, like, wait a minute, what scene is this? What am I? Which
Zeth, you're on stage. Zeth is on stage for nearly the whole show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to Preston's point. I mean, literally, we may, and it's a lot of fun and it's an adrenaline rush, especially now that we're gonna have an audience. But at the same time, it has been interesting of giving this like monologue where Jason's direction has been so wonderful of like talk to the audience like they're your friend. But then you've got to go around and be in like what we call concert mode of the songs. I think that what's really cool about Jersey Boys is, yes, it's a jukebox musical, and sometimes the songs have nothing to do with the plot. But then, especially, I feel, and I don't know if Preston and the other cast members feel this way, but in Act 2, it seems like the songs are very intentionally, at least associated with the theme, especially as the members start breaking up and leaving. Things like their version of the song "Stay" just a little bit longer. In that. People are starting to leave and let's hang on to what we've got. But literally there are times where every single one of us has to give a monologue and talk like the audience is our friend and tell a story and then jump into this like big musical number where we're giving a concert. And so it is a different type of athleticism that you don't associate with probably people who don't do theater or don't do performing arts don't associate with. You almost have to do a complete mind shift. Deliver your lines.
You have to remember when that fourth wall is back up.
Yeah, exactly. When is the fourth wall back up? Because this is when I was doing some research on the actual production of Jersey Boys when it opened, almost 20 years ago, what they wanted to do is they had noticed that shows like The Office and everything of like this breaking of the fourth wall, almost like a documentary, mockumentary style, but there really wasn't a whole lot of musicals that done that, even though the fourth wall has been broken for a long time, even in Greek classical theater and Shakespeare and everything like that. But there really wasn't a major musical that embraced that form. And they wanted to do that with Jersey Boys. And so, it is interesting to have to remember, okay, now the audience is an observer, not being brought into the story. But definitely I'd say one of the hardest things is finish this monologue, finish it on time. So you stay on time with the orchestra, jump into the song, and then you're almost like in a whole different type of on to be able to perform and sing. So I mean, it's we're in a whole different type of shape. You may, I feel like after doing this show mentally, physically, vocally, this is my first musical in 15 years. Wow. I have not done a musical, and it's my first. My wife and I were talking about this. I have been in the chorus and I have been a principal and had solos in musicals and whatnot. But this is really my first time to ever be a true lead in a musical. And had I known 15 years ago, hey kid, you're going to be cast as Frankie Valli, I think I would have probably not gone 15 years without doing a musical because I feel it some nights. And but at the same time,
what a way to dive back in.
Yeah, no kidding. But at the same time, in some ways, I do want to say this to you, Annika, and to Jason, and to Jen, and to Sean and Jesse. To me, this is kind of like lightning striking twice in a lot of ways because being cast in Cuckoo's Nest with that opportunity with Stephen Crandall, I really just felt called to at least just try again. It was part of my life, and it's how I met my wife. But I'm not ignorant to the talent we have here in the Texas Panhandle. I got to start seeing ALT shows back in 2012 with my family. And to show up, I really thought I was going to get cast in the ensemble. I really thought, it's just a really honor and a privilege to, after you see the talent, and to your point, we have people from Amarillo area making it in New York professionally and in Disney movies. I mean, to be selected and given the chance and the challenge even to do this really is humbling and a great experience. But I also want to say, for anybody who is worried about, I've got to prove myself to be part of the ALT community, that is so not true. I have not once have I felt like I've had to earn my keep or demonstrate that I'm worthy. The ALT community is so welcoming. And so even if you just want to try and be backstage crew, I've always wanted to see what that's better. It's so better to try it out and know, yeah, that's for me, or no, it's not. And the team is just so supportive. So not only is ALT one of the longest running community theaters in the country, I would also say it is one of the most inclusive and truly patron as well as volunteer centered. And that is because of a great team that runs everything behind the scenes.
Zeth, that is so kind of you to say. And just, I have to put a little of what you're saying right back onto you and Preston, because when we provide the opportunities and try to provide I haven't been a part of Jersey Boys. I'm just here during the day doing my thing, but we provide the opportunity and hopefully a safe environment for everyone who participates to feel like they can safely explore their creativity and do something that in a lot of scenarios could be very scary and intense, and provide a great memory for your life, a learning experience, an opportunity to showcase your creativity, to make some friends, to build your community. But for me, like we've said multiple times during this broadcast today, seeing and hearing these stories about you guys showing up, not just showing up for what you've been asked to do, but going above and beyond when you have jobs and you have lives and you have families and responsibilities, and committing yourselves beyond what's asked of you. I'm so impressed by that. And I know that when we sit in the audience, we're going to feel that. We're going to know how much work you put into it. It's going to show on stage. I'm very excited for you guys to finally get an audience in here to appreciate the work that you've put in. But Zeth, thank you so much for those kind words. I feel like I want to screen grab everything that you just said and send it to the whole staff. Maybe I will, because they're working, they can't watch, but I'm going to.
Valentine from me.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day from Zeth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, I do have to ask you guys, since Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons are such a beloved musical group, and this is largely based on the true story of how they came to be, do you guys feel pressure to please the audience that's going to be coming to hear these nostalgic songs?
I think that, yes, there's a pressure, but at the same time, you just want them to feel, oh, Kaylee, that's high praise coming from her.
I was about to say, now
she's been incredible.
Take that and put it on yourself. I mean,
yeah,
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
They ought to give Kaylee a haircut and let her play Frankie. I'm just saying, it's 2026. It could happen. She is phenomenal. She has been so good with costumes, so good to come. I mean, gosh, I don't know how she does it, but I mean, I'm going to say it. I mean, nothing against anybody else in the cast or us four, but my MVP does go to Kaylee Gomez. It's just, she is.
Anyone who's willing to participate in a show and take on costumes.
Oh, yeah, especially these costumes, because again, ensemble. This isn't where, there's 20 people in the ensemble and they do two things and then they're done. I mean, they literally are changing costumes all the time and singing and backing up vocals and helping with transitions and then you decide
specific time periods.
In a specific time period, over time period, because the show opens quasi close to modern times and then we go back in time. So multiple time periods. But Kaylee has just been, it's been such a pleasure to get to know and work with her. I mean, so when she says that, she better, again, screenshot it and put it on her mirror in the dressing room. Epitome of the truth for her.
I agree. Kaylee,
I want to ask both of you, why do you think it's important to have a place like ALT in a city like Amarillo?
I think it's important to have a sense of community anywhere. I think it's extremely important in this day and age, especially. There is a lot going on, obviously, in the world, and there's plenty you can say to that. But at the same time, one of the biggest things is a lot of people grow into a comfort of maybe having a community online or a community In this day and age, everything's technological, and that's a lot of great things with that. But the downside of that, speaking personally, there have been phases in my life where I haven't had an in-person community to go do something I love with people who want me to be there. And ALT is that for me. And that is what it is for a lot of other people. And to be, again, in a place like Amarillo, Texas, not many people would necessarily think, we've said it many times, that Amarillo would be home to a community theater that puts on shows that are the level of production that ALT does very consistently in terms of talent and in terms of spectacle. But two, that Amarillo would be home to a place that is so welcoming of the arts, that is so welcoming of theater, that is so encouraging, regardless of your walk of life, whether you've done 100 musicals or whether you've done one musical. Ragtime was my first one in 8 years. Zeth, this is your first in 15 years. So we can both speak to that pretty strongly. The welcoming nature of ALT. You spoke about it already. It's second to none. And it has come to me in times and in phases in my life where I desperately needed somewhere like ALT, where I needed somewhere to go that I can enjoy what I'm doing, that I can have a goal that I'm working toward with other people who want me to be there and who are happy to see me there, and that I can reciprocate that. And ALT has been that for me time and time again when I needed it. It's always been there. And I think that that's such a special thing about ALT in Amarillo. Like I said, it's a town that someone from the outside may not have expected. After Ragtime, one of the shows, Ragtime, there was an old woman who was from Lubbock. She came up to me I can't even remember which show it was, but she had driven in from Lubbock and she was just floored by the show. She couldn't believe it. And what she kept saying was like, I can't believe this has been here all this time. Like that this has been in Amarillo all this time. What are you doing next? Where can I get tickets? Let me get your website. Let me look at your season. I will be back. I cannot believe this has been in Amarillo and I've been in Lubbock this whole time. I never even got her name, but she was just amazed by Ragtime and the impact that it had. And to that credit, I think a lot of, I think that speaks to how people may not expect something like ALT to exist in Amarillo. And that's just from what the public sees. That's not even from the volunteer perspective, which, like we've spoken about ad nauseum, Zeth and I can really attest to how welcoming it is backstage. And so, I think it's an incredibly special place for so many different reasons.
Definitely. Zeth, anything to add?
No, kind of to talk on the other question as well about pressure. I mean, if we say there's not pressure, I don't feel like we've done our job. And then at the same time, I'm so grateful for Jen, our music director, as well as Kristen Lloyd, who has been my vocal coach throughout some of this. We got to sound enough like Frankie Valli because it's the story of Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. And at the same time, we are telling a dramatization of their story. And, I'm not Frankie Valli and I'm not going to be. And so we have put in the time, we have put in the effort, we have put in the work. So it is a healthy, it's kind of like going to your job. You've got to enjoy the work, but you also know that like there's stuff that's got to get done. And so to answer your question, at least for me, I have put pressure on myself, but I've also, being a speech therapist who actually works a lot with singers, it's been interesting to look at things from the perspective of the performer to also give the grace you would give others to yourself so you don't ruin your performance as well. Theater and acting, and especially, is not a perfect art form. What makes it beautiful and why it's been around since, literally BC, before Christ, is that it is made by humans. That's why the irony of the title, The Play That Goes Wrong, there's almost something that, whether or not the audience always knows, there's usually something that goes awry every night. And so there is the pressure, but I also feel like we have done a good job of accepting that this is Preston Moore's interpretation of Bobby Gardio. This is E's version of it. But going back to why it's important to have ALT, you know, even for myself, you know, I am a kid from Spring Lake Earth, Texas. I did not have one acting class until I went to college. Um, and it just shows you that there is a place for us to have quality entertainment as well as quality supportive creative expression, and to foster the arts that's not necessarily, that is truly community driven and our area. It's not about the, you know, we don't get to pay people 8 hours a day to go and work on their music and their dance and their acting.
Yeah.
This is truly a labor of love, and it's for love of the game if you're more of a sports person. And so ALT provides not only that artistic entertainment that I think we need as individuals. Again, we're getting to run through Valentine's Day. Again, I would say to all the men out there, you might as well come and enjoy a show that you might actually really like get into, and take your wife to a really lovely dinner, and then come and see a show that's like, man, this is what it's like to be a dude sometimes. I mean, there's even things of myself as a dad I've realized in the show of like, you know, Frankie Valli was a father and a husband, and I think there were times where he was forced to make a choice that he was between a rock and a hard place. No matter what he did as an entertainer, he was going to fall short as a husband and father. Now, was he a saint? Absolutely not. But I just feel like that's the big part. But ALT, I mean, y'all have just done some phenomenal shows, and what a great season, and a unique and very, in some ways, a season that you probably wouldn't expect a lot of community theaters to have this year. You've had everything from, yes, it's a familiar piece because of the movie, but then you open with something about mental health, which has been huge in the past decade, especially even with COVID, of people that, again, not even 100 years ago, being identified as a certain type of person, that meant you were crazy. Not, and then you go from that to Frozen, which is this mega, everybody, I mean, where have you been if you don't know what Frozen is? And then you have some very you know, probably for the theater aficionados, like Ragtime, that also touches on some very relevant themes that are happening, and having a huge orchestra on stage. And then something hilarious and almost farcical like The Cottage. And then you turn around and have this on the surface, oh, it's a jukebox musical. It's, you know, pop music that everybody's heard on the radio. It can't be that big. And then you're like, this is not your average jukebox musical. It is intense. And that seems to be the common theme when I've talked to, you know, I saw Cy Scroggins the other day, and met up with Steven and even yourself, Annika, of like, oh, you know, that seems to be the theme from the theater people. It's like, oh, it's a jukebox musical, but whoa, it's not a jukebox musical. It's got a lot of heart, and it's got a lot of technical. But I just think that ALT is so essential to our community, not just from the entertainment perspective, but to what Preston touched on, is a sense of community. You don't have to be an actor to be involved at ALT. I mean, we need people who can paint. We need people. I keep teasing my mom and dad of, you know, we're donors and everything, but at the same time, like, go up there and help paint. My dad's an electrician. They'll put you to work on the lights, you know, if you need something to do when you get retired. There's classes that y'all offer. And so it just is so important with the work that y'all do to be on the let's put butts in the seats and put on shows. There's a lot more that happens.
Well, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the variety in our season, because starting tonight, when you come and see Jersey Boys, you can help us vote on our 2026-2027 season. Raquel is going to be putting out on our social media channels a QR code and a link where you can go. It's a SurveyMonkey link where you can vote on the shows that you want to see next year before we pick our season later in the spring. If you're here in person and you would rather not do the QR code thing or do it online, we have physical ballots here at the theater where you can please clearly circle. Don't circle. I have to count these. Don't circle two numbers. Circle one number. Anyway, but you can vote on physical ballots here at the theater when you come and get an idea of the shows that we're looking at for next season, which is really exciting. But yes, we try to do a wide variety of shows, titles people recognize, titles people don't, content that we think is important to put out there that people need to see. So take a look at those and make sure to vote on our season. Guys, you've been such a fantastic interview today. Is there anything else before we head out that you want our audiences to know before they start seeing Jersey Boys starting tonight at the theater?
I would just say we hope you have fun. We've obviously, like we've talked about, we've put a lot of hard work into this, and we want it to knock your socks off, as Zachary Vidari said in the comments a little bit earlier. Where that's what we want. Zachary Vidari, one of our cast members, also wanting to knock your socks off as well. Everybody wants to really make this the best that it can be, and to transport maybe some of those people who listened to Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons when they were at their peak, to transport them back to that time with this music. And so, yeah, we hope to see you there. And there's my mom. Both of them. My mom. Yeah, well,
we love a supportive queen.
Depending on when you see Jersey Boys, you may see my mom as well. We'll see about that. We're excited for the show. We can't wait to see everybody there. Yeah, can't wait to get it going.
It's going to be so great. And I just want to tell you guys, I already love you guys outside of what you do on stage, but I am so grateful to have your positivity, your commitment, your work ethic involved in the environment here at ALT. We have so many volunteers who are so committed to what they do here at the theater, whether it's on stage or backstage. And we would not be here for almost 100 years if we didn't have committed people like that, committed donors, committed volunteers, people who believe in the mission of what we're doing in the art scene here in Amarillo. So I want to personally thank you guys. I'm so grateful for the hard work that you put on stage, but also just for the people you are and what you bring to ALT just as human beings. So a special thank you from me for that. Guys, that is it for Thursdays at 3. I want to thank Zeth and Preston again so much for joining me today. I know how busy you guys are this week, so I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. Y'all, get your tickets for Jersey Boys running February 12th. That's tonight. Tickets are buy one, get one free. Students are always buy one, get one free. February 12th through March 1st here at the Alan Shankles main stage at 2019 Civic Circle. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you right back here next week, where I'm going to chat with more cast members and production team from Jersey Boys. Thank you, guys. Break a leg tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
What a night.